back to a place where I felt at home. Take me back to a day when we weren't alone. Take me back to an age when the world felt small. Way back before we blew it all. Take me back to a place where I felt at home. Take me back to a day when we weren't alone. Take me back to an age when the world felt small. Way back before we blew it all. Too many things going on, I can't keep track of them all. From people dropping a bomb to people putting up walls. I feel like life is on hold, perception stuck in a vault. I know that time can heal all, but how much time till we fall? It's awfully chilly outside when there's no shelter to hide. When everything is a lie, you'll find that out in some time. But when the things on your mind are all considered a crime, communication aside, we'll all just fight till we die. Is this an argument or just the start of it? Either way, I don't wanna be a part of it. Can I just get some space? I don't have the heart for this. I can't be picking up the pieces, fixing scars from this. Is this an argument or just the start of it? I wanna drive away so I can be so far from it. I wanna find a place where no one breaks their promises. Or maybe drown myself in something that is bottomless. Take me back to a place where I felt at home. Take me back to a day when we weren't alone. Take me back to an age when the world felt small. Way back before we blew it all. Take me back to a place where I felt at home. Take me back to a day when we weren't alone. Take me back to an age when the world felt small. Way back before we blew it all. I know that things seem bad, but they could be much worse. There's always someone else who has a greater curse, a greater thirst, a hunger, pain, and mercy. Just find whatever you got and try to be thankful first. I wanna feel again, I need a couple friends. I never really understood just how the story ends, but I can feel it's tense, don't know the consequence. The volatility of life, my only confidence. Is this an argument or just the start of it? Either way, I don't wanna be a part of it. Can I just get some space? I don't have the heart for this. I can't be picking up the pieces, fixing scars from this. Is this an argument or just the start of it? I wanna drive away so I can be so far from it. I wanna find a place where no one breaks their promises. Or maybe drown myself in something that is bottomless. Take me back to a place where I felt at home. Take me back to a day when we weren't alone. Take me back to an age when the world felt small. Way back before we blew it all. Take me back to a place where I felt at home. Take me back to a day when we weren't alone. Take me back to an age when the world felt small. Way back before we blew it all.
Very nice to be here again, my
friend. Welcome back home,
and yeah, man, we're just tackling the practical issues, trying to find practical solutions.
Now, welcome. So before we actually jump into today's this evening's episode, just a reminder for our new viewers and current subscribers that we actually have an event on the 23rd of October called the Unspoken Words Soul Poetry and Jazz Sessions, So we're basically introducing a new movement in the hood, Basically it's all about poets, having a safe space to actually express their craft, So you can just go and check it out on my website, realtalkwithak.wordpress.com, and you can also check it out on Facebook at realtalkwithak. And don't forget to go follow us all across all our social media platforms. The handle is at The People's Podcast. But let me get back to the business at hand. So on this episode, we are actually talking about black checks, Right now in society, there's actually two debates around this concept, which is you have a group that's saying black checks represents the spirit of Ubuntu. And then you have the other group that's like, what's this? Black checks is all about exploitation, Parents are using kids, because they look at us as like investments, But before we actually jump into all of that, I would actually like us to take a look at the dictionary definition of what black text is. To
be quite honest, I can't necessarily give you a dictionary definition of what black text is, but I can give you an opinion on what it is. If you do have a dictionary.
I've got you.
My opinion on what black text is, it's essentially what is experienced as family members or members of a, let's say, grouping that is intimately connected, like they know each other very well, whether through family or close relatives.
By user, I
understand.
Sure.
And looking at it as solely that, would be a bit shallow. But yeah, let me hear what the dictionary definition is.
So, according to the Wikipedia and dictionary definition, black checks is a term that originated in South Africa for money that black professionals provide to their families every month outside of their own living expenses, usually out of obligation. It is caused by continued economic imbalances that can be tracked back to apartheid and slavery. So that's the Wikipedia and dictionary definition. And me personally, that's something that I'm against, because I personally believe that black tax is all about the spirit of Ubuntu. You donating clothes to a charity, that's black tax. You feeding someone on the streets, that's black tax. That's my definition of black tax. It's all about putting each other as a race.
I think then in that case, you and I are in agreement. Yes, in my opinion, I specifically mentioned that it's about essentially having a certain amount or a portion of what you earn or what you have, that you give back to either your black family or close relatives. So it stretches beyond just the family.
It takes a village to raise a child. That's an African proverb. So, like my brother, I want us to actually hit social media before I start actually asking, those questions that will actually be guiding our conversation, and just take a look at the public views when it comes to black tax, the entire concept, So let's check out one of the posts on Twitter, a post that I came across as I was busy preparing for this episode. So it says black tax can be a reason why poverty never ends in a family, because have you seen how irresponsible siblings are? One told. So what's your take on that, Michael?
I would agree with it to an extent. And I say to an extent because it goes back to another program. Give a man a fish and he'll be fed for a day, but teach him how to fish, he'll be fed for life. So you can't expect somebody who is always dependent on somebody else's blood, sweat and tears, essentially, to then one day become responsible for themselves. Because now say this person is a child, being raised under the conditions that this black tax, I can just ask my cousin to give me this, or I can ask my mom to give me this, or my dad to give me that. It then fosters a culture of I don't have to do anything, and that I believe is more damaging in the long term.
So how do we deal with this thing, and how do we avoid it causing damage?
That is a very good question. That's an excellent question.
So even our viewers, that's a question that's been raised on the table, so feel free to join in on the conversation using the comment section there by YouTube, or you can use the hashtag Real Talk with AK or the People's Podcast. So Mr. Ramolefe, how would you say black tax affects us as a community, not looking at it from a perspective of families and households? What role does it have in today's society? Is it something is it still a concept that's relevant in today's society, or it's something that should be put in the past?
I think it stays relevant because of the circumstances that people are forced to live in. We still have a lot of young unemployed minds. We have brilliant minds which can actually set a course to change for the economic welfare of us as a community, as a South African community. However, the circumstances that we're forced to live under, whether it be, and I don't mean to politicize the conversation, but whether it be political occurrences, or whether it be how do I put it? There's just many factors that are working against many young black folk, and as a result, some of them actually, how do I put it? They hold on to the all black tax, or that's where the exploitation begins. They hold on to the black tax as a crutch, instead of then alleviating themselves from whatever position that they.
In a way, it's more like they feel entitled.
Essentially,
that's where it leads to.
Essentially,
But bro, as I said, it's high time. Don't you think it's high time we as members of society actually started looking at this thing as a form of pushing Ubuntu? Let's take it out of their households, and start looking at it from a perspective of empowerment.
I like the fact that you're talking about empowerment.
Yeah.
I'll go back to the proverb again. Give a man a fish,
yeah,
and be fed for a day. But give a man the skills to fish. Paraphrasing what I said, but he'll be able to actually feed himself forever.
Yeah.
Because the ocean is vast.
Yeah.
The ocean is endless. There's still areas of the ocean that have never been actually touched by human instruments. And what I'm essentially trying to say is, if you put a man under or whether it be a man or a woman or a girl or a boy, if you put them under the perception that they will always be supported, there will always be elements of support structures that actually enable them to actually do the things that they do. You'll never actually teach them to be able to actually be self-sustaining.
That's true.
So from a perspective of Ubuntu and empowerment, what I would then propose is more so a thing of, say, black businesses come together, or black minds come together, like you and I, for instance, come together in this podcast, and we discuss on how we can then empower people without fostering an attitude of entitlement. Sure. Then we can start looking at possible and applicable solutions.
Yeah. So, do you also think that black tax, it's another reason that's contributing to us, the new young generation? Because right now we are actually the working class. We are considered to be the working class. So majority of us, it's a trend I've been seeing in the hood, whereby as soon as someone akala hospana, they relocate to another location, and when they get there, you get that they were not even ready to relocate, but they were just running away from home because maybe school fees or so what's your take on that?
My take on that is, if you have the ability to help or to help out, there's nothing wrong with helping out, as long as you're not coerced or influenced to help out.
So what you're saying is black tax is not supposed to be an obligation.
I'm not saying it should be an obligation, nor should it be.
Yeah.
We as people need to actually come to the consensus that yes, we need to help one another, but we live separate lives and we don't have the same challenges. For instance, say you were a professional earning whatever amount you're earning and you were good. You were stable, perhaps even above stable. You have children, perhaps, you have your own family. Say I'm a cousin coming through and I need help, but now your monthly financial constraints don't necessarily allow for you to help. Should I then feel entitled to your money?
That's usually the case.
I completely understand that. However, it's not right in that instance, because now it's become exploitation rather than a plea for somebody to empower.
Nah, I hear you. And you can join in on the conversation, still using the hashtag Real Talk with AK, as we're still moving on. So what would you say is the reason behind us I'm looking for the right way to actually place this question. At the moment, black tax is something that's actually a topic in communities, and it's something people don't actually get the full scale of how deep it goes. So will you also consider us as black people actually coming together, maybe starting something as a band, as a form of black tax?
If black people come together and start their own bank, how could it actually become a form of black tax? I mean, it's not a little stock fair.
Yeah.
You know, stock fair, like people would come together, put together their money, and at the end of a month or at the end of a certain period, then the payout goes to certain members of the stock fair. You know, it was a way of ensuring that money circulates within a singular system before it goes external. Within the primary system before it goes external. You understand? So it's a very good idea to have money circulating within the community, because then it means that there will be less black tax, because there will be more money to actually empower.
Why is it hard for us to actually do that, my father, as a breaks, you know? Like, actually have like black on black support, you know, because that's what you're referring to, you know, black people supporting each other, black brands supporting black brands.
It's troublesome to go into that one as to why black people don't necessarily want to see each other succeed. You know, and it's a myth. It's a myth because we have been made to believe that we are inferior, and as a result trust into ideologies and things that have nothing to do with us as a black community. You understand? It's in many textbooks, as a matter of fact, that black people are known to actually be a collective society. You know, and collective meaning that we are. That's why in the to understand we have that the whole binding together, you know, coming together as it comes to important things, right? However, if you look at history as well, you can start to see where the cracks start appearing. You know, where there's the colonialism, slavery, and I don't even know if this platform can allow me to speak of.
Yeah, it is a free platform, bro. You know, that's why we exist. That's why this platform exists. You know, we exist to break such barriers.
So there is a letter, and it is called "The Making of a Slave." I don't know if you perhaps read it.
Nah.
Have you ever heard of William Lynch?
Yeah. I've seen some of his, I think, quotes. Oh.
You probably have.
Yeah.
One of the most racist, most. I don't want to underestimate or
hold up.
rate him.
This is where the concept of lynching originated.
Essentially. And now, during the lynching process, what they would do, this is when they making a person to become a slave.
Yeah.
What they would do is they would take a dominant male of black descent or African descent, you know, and they would beat him essentially. Beat him like within an inch to his death.
Yeah.
You know, in front of
The crowd.
exactly. Not just the crowd. Within the crowd, you have his children, you have his wife, his family, his community, and they would beat him so bad that he would start begging for his life.
Yeah.
And now he's by this time lost his dignity. He's by this time lost his will to fight.
Yeah.
You know, and that would actually transgress generationally. You know, now aside from the dominant male who was beaten like that, then you would have those who were born of either a rape or interracial. How do I put it?
Mixed races.
Exactly, interracial relationships.
Yeah.
You know, and those ones would get then put within the house. Hence, you get the term the house nigga. You understand? And this is where they created the separation between black people. A clear distinction of the house nigga and the field nigga. So the field nigga, or the guy who works the field essentially, needs to answer to the house nigga. The house nigga needs to answer to the master. The house nigga would then get better privileges than the field nigga.
It was more of like they were the representatives of the black people anyway. They were the bridge between the master.
Essentially, they were the bridge between the master and, well, the field niggas. However, this one received better privileges than, it was treated more humanely than the field nigga. Now, this is exactly what they were doing when they were separating, when they created segregation. When we talk segregation, we don't just talk borders and separated. No,
Sure.
when we talk segregation, we talk a separatist mentality where something when pastor comes into a community and ensures that the community is not bound together, united.
So, how do we unite our black communities? Because I personally feel like that's something we need at the moment, you know. It's one of the reasons I actually encourage like collaborations and like unity amongst like black-owned businesses and black-owned artists, black-owned brands, you know. So how do we go about like breaking this barrier? Because I actually believe like since you're here and I'm here, there's nothing that doesn't have like a solution. There's a solution to
I was just
thing.
about to say there is a practical solution.
Yeah, you know.
Strangely enough, it's on this platform. So, a solution to the problem, a practical one at that, would be firstly education.
Yeah.
You know, and by education, I don't mean buying culture. I don't mean going to some Ivy League school. Not to discount people who go to Ivy League schools or anything like that.
Yeah.
You know, just to say that education isn't necessarily something that is found within a building. You know, education isn't. It's been too institutionalized, essentially.
Yeah.
And we need to deinstitutionalize education in order to get our people on the same platform.
Yeah.
You understand? So that we move in unison.
Yeah.
You understand? So workshops are a good idea.
Yeah.
You understand? To start to get people moving into the same direction. You know, having workshops to actually like just let them know about how these things have affected our current mentality, and perhaps start to come up with new strategies like post-doc fair. Understand? Have some kind of oversight.
Yeah.
You know, that will satisfy all black folk.
Yeah.
Within our community section. You know, but again, it is a practical solution. The application, however,
how do we go about applying? Because I personally feel like, you know, these things are already there, you know. That's why you see our parents actually coming together every December when at the grocery they are being shared left and right, you know. So like it's just a matter of applying it. Like how do we go about that? Because that's why I personally feel like the problem is you know. We are there, talent is there, galore. But how do we go about applying this thing? This question is also for our viewers out there, you know. How do we actually apply like permanent solutions that are gonna see black people uniting and actually building something that's major, man, because we are actually capable, you know. But because of how like they have painted black text, it's a problem. It's a problem. You see. So like, my bro, how do you look at black text? Is it a burden or is it like an investment? Because like I said, majority like of people like even on social media, as I was scrolling like looking for those public opinions, majority they're like this thing is a burden.
Negative give me no.
What's that?
It's a razor blade.
Hey, I just learned a new term. Hey, what minora name?
I just created it.
Yeah.
It's a double-edged blade.
Yeah.
So it cuts on both sides.
Yeah.
And the reason why I said cuts on both sides is within the right context, black text can actually assist the black community in major ways.
Yeah.
However, it can also destroy values such as responsibility. You know, not just over oneself, but over one's account.
Yeah.
You understand? So you're always dependent. If you become always dependent on somebody else's accounts, how do you then start to manage your own?
Yeah. I hear you. So like, let me just find out, you know. So, do you think like, in the long run, black text will be something that can be sustained? Because like I said, I don't look at black text from a perspective of us, me taking care of my siblings, taking my siblings to varsity, paying for the fees, my cousins. For me, that's not like black tax. That's doing something out of love.
I completely understand. But I think this is where the distinction needs to be made. Remember the comment that I made, for instance, or the statement that I made about monthly financial restraints may not allow for you to actually assist someone. You understand? As much as you might want to, but then you're not able to. And then somebody says, but you're my brother, or but you are this and that to me. You understand? Thereby obligating you to essentially assist them. Then you take yourself outside of your own constraints, and thereby you actually put yourself into more shit. Excuse my French.
No, it's chill.
You know, you put yourself into more trouble. You understand? Because now, say no, let's call it this up. You understand? Maybe and you need to go to work. You know, and now because Kazi came last month,
but you do have the right to say no at the end of the day. You know, it's not like that's what. Hence, I'm saying, you know, we need to actually understand like that. There's actually a difference between entitlement.
So you and I are actually in agreement. You and I are in agreement. You and I are in agreement. That's why I'm still going back to the statement of only within the constraints that you're able to. So doing it whilst you have the space to move. You understand? If you don't have space to move, or if you can, it's like the whole sorry to cut you off. The whole thing about that they teach you when you're in an airplane, for instance, that if ever there's a accident or whatever, you know that you must put on your own mask first. You know, you can't save everybody else while you're dying. You understand? You need to first secure yourself so that you can secure others. So I agree with you when you say to uplift and to empower our brothers and sisters, you know, but then you can't help them from a point where let us do more leveling A1 over 1 2. You understand? You are really out. That's where first start. So at least get yourself 10 levels above, you know, so that you are able to help 10 levels.
I hear you. So like do you think like black tax only focuses on like, in fact, does it have to do with like finances only, or does it go beyond finances?
I think it's a good question. I think it's an excellent question. I think there is such a thing as social currency as well. You know, so it can stretch into things like nepotism. You're working, so I think since you're working in a managerial position, you are in a position to actually get a job.
That's black tax.
You understand? So,
but I feel like we should actually look at it from a positive perspective. You know, because at the end of the day, majority of black people, it's us dominating the unemployment rate. So me coming and plugging you with a job, in a way, that's also black tax because I'm looking out for you.
But would you say then it's a wrong thing to actually?
No, for me it's not wrong because the other race has also been doing it for years.
They've been doing it, but they would argue that...
Oh, it's one of the reasons I have to go to varsity right now to be employed.
Very true.
By someone who has a matric while I have what? A tertiary qualification because of what? Family business.
Very true.
Racial business.
Very true.
You know, just as much as like we choose to overlook these things do play a factor, you know, just as much as we do practice, like we preach equality on a daily basis. We know on the ground that that's not the case.
But that's not living in the real world in the case. You know, if we going to be preaching things of equality when we have people who clearly how do I put this? Who clearly see themselves as above the law, essentially. You know, when we have people who clearly have no accountability whatsoever. That's exactly how you get tyrants like I don't want to mention them because they might bomb me. It's true. But that's why you get leaders who become tyrants, essentially. You understand? It's exactly because of that level of accountability. You know, so think I've lost my train of thought actually.
I was reading about tyrants and accountability.
Yeah, tyrants and accountability in relation to the whole black tax thing, right?
Yeah, finance.
Finances, exactly. So if you are able to actually exercise power like the Queen,
Yeah.
like the Queen. So
When you say RIP,
I can't. I can't because, in all honesty, she is one of those who allowed or sanctioned for black people
Exactly.
to actually be oppressed.
And then you had our leaders attending the very same funeral of your colonizers.
I mean, to be quite honest, I'll say it again. We are quite idealistic in thinking that we are completely decolonized.
That's true. That's something
You understand what I'm trying to say?
I agree with you on.
Exactly.
Hence, I always say we are under the impression that we are free.
Exactly.
We are not really free.
True. You know, there's certain freedoms that we still haven't taken from our oppressors. You understand? Those are the financial freedoms, for instance, or economic freedoms. You understand? Those are simple things like having proper healthcare. Do you understand that? Having things like security.
Financial security. Anything.
You know, there's just a lot that we still haven't actually achieved as the black folk. You know, and to be quite honest,
don't you think we are also to blame at some point?
in what sense?
Because I personally feel like we got too comfortable, you know. After, for instance, let me just say, after slavery, we conquered slavery.
Slavery wasn't conquered, but
Yeah, it still exists. I'm just saying, like, those conditions are actually much more better. Right now, slavery is here.
it's beyond that too.
Yeah,
Slavery is here.
that's what I'm like.
You understand what I'm trying to say by that?
Yeah,
So long as you have something to interface with on a daily basis, like a phone,
yeah.
you know,
Mental slavery.
you have less opportunities for us to actually communicate.
Yeah.
Like you and I communicating right now. You know the whole thing of people don't talk. They don't talk because we've been actually muted, essentially. You understand? And I'll show you how. Look at the time before COVID struck, especially in South Africa. That was 2019. End of 2019. You know, people started then engaging with their phones a whole lot more because they exactly schedules, the whole thing about the jabs. You know, there's those things about doctors
Concerts even with digital.
exactly doctors who were condemning the whole pandemic and saying that it's actually a ploy for the world to actually like fall into a new world order. And without throwing conspiracy theories out there, you know,
What's your take on that, Maji? Because you know, it's something like like on the podcast we never really touched on, you know, whether if it was a conspiracy or a myth. Because that's why you even had people saying like it was a depopulation strategy.
I can believe that. I can definitely believe that, and the reason why I can believe that is exactly why genocides exist.
Yeah.
A genocide is the eradication essentially of a genome.
Yeah.
You know, so the genetic the black gene, for instance, just as an example, I'm not saying it is that gender, but I'm just saying the black gene, for instance, is one gene that's been dominant for thousands of years.
Decades, it goes
beyond.
Yeah, it goes beyond.
Which is exactly why there's been experimentation, for instance, on black folk. You understand? There's been many.
We've been through it all.
Do you understand? Many medical procedures that are now being performed today, they were actually performed on feral black citizens. You understand? Your so-called monkeys. You understand that they tested these experiments on before they could actually like get scientific breaks. You understand? So it's not far-fetched to say that COVID was a ploy to actually eliminate a certain number of population. I bet you even if you go back to the stats, you'll find the places that it was worst in was in Africa. Why would that be the case? Why would
With
HIV?
COVID, it was a different story in Africa, bro, honestly speaking.
Okay.
Like, personally,
I'm not talking about deaths.
Yeah?
I'm not talking about deaths.
Yeah?
I'm talking about cases.
Cases.
Yeah. You find that there were more cases in
but
Africa.
But compared to Europe, we are less. Like,
Cases?
Yeah.
Can you perhaps search it?
I think I can just check it, but
anyway, that is a conspiracy theory. Let's just continue.
So we are about to take like a short break, We'll come back after this short break, and continue with our conversation because, I can see we are actually touching on other issues, So let's just take a quick break. We'll be back after this short break. But apart from that, you know what to do. Just click that subscribe button. In the meantime, share with your friends and family out there, because after all, this is a community platform, This is the People's Podcast, This is the People's Gun, representing, advocating for the people out there. So don't forget to follow us on our social media platforms. It's at the People's Podcast, and you can also go sign up for our weekly newsletter and blog there by Real Talk with guys from our short break, and what's up?
The live feed.
Oh, you want me to play?
You don't want to do it live.
Oh, I forgot. Labels. What's the profile? And we are back again, guys, from our short break, and the topic is still on black tax, but we have also touched on other topics, from colonialism, slavery, lynching, So we are still jumping back to black tax, but before we actually get back to our conversation, just a reminder to go and check out our exclusive community of practical problem solvers there by Patreon. It's at patreon.realtalkwithak.com. It's a community of different community members who are focusing on bringing about practical solutions towards all the problems that we are facing in our communities without the political affiliations involved. So by joining that community, you actually find different people, from black-owned businesses, brands, and so forth, And please don't also forget that we actually launched an awards program called the Game Changers and Dreamers Awards. It's all about giving recognition to local talent, local businesses, people who are actually developing and empowering our communities out there. So you can just visit any of my profiles. The link is there. It's called the Game Changers and Dreamers Awards. So you can just go and check them out. But apart from that, Mr. Ramolefe, let's get back to the main order of the evening, and that is the concept of black tax. So this is the second part of our episode, the second segment, whereby before we actually dive in deep, I'll actually give you the opportunity to actually present on the concept of black tax itself. Without me asking questions, my questions will come from the presentation that will be given on the entire concept of black tax.
Thank you very much, man. As I said in the beginning, my understanding of black tax is that it is a certain amount or certain things perhaps that you are able to give to fellow members or family or your community, you know. However, I think I'm changing my stance as it relates to the term itself, black tax, you know, because as we were just talking over the break, you just reminded me that we live in a society where nowadays words can be created, you know, out of the thinness of air.
It's even hard to catch up with this movement.
Do you know what I mean? So even the term itself, black tax, you know, from the dictionary definition, it said that it's a term that originates in South Africa. However, I don't think the term originates in South Africa. I think it was just adopted by South Africa and then named black tax because there was a show, I think we have it there on the screen. There was actually like
Survivor's Remorse.
Survivor's Remorse. You know, Survivor's Remorse is a show about basically a basketball player. You know, makes it big, signs a multi-million-dollar deal, and he is in a position where he's able to help a lot of his family members. You know, so he comes through. You know, he comes through as a person who wants to assist his fellow black people. You know, from his mom, his sister, his friends. You know, and he realizes that he can't necessarily help them all because not all people have the best intentions. You know, hence the survivor's remorse. You know, it's the guilt of making it big, you know, and then feeling that you need to actually give back, you know, and for the mere fact that they made a show out of it, I think there's a bigger agenda. You know, and the bigger agenda being what we actually stated earlier on, the breaking apart of the black family, you know, the black union. So I wouldn't necessarily call it black tax. I'd call it for exactly what it is, which would be either a person who is how do I put it, taking advantage of you, or either a person who you are helping. So there's a clear distinction between a person who's taking advantage of you or whether you've made the choice to help someone.
You are helping someone out of
exactly.
Out of love, you know.
So I think that was a very enlightening conversation over the break.
Yeah.
Taught me
because, like I said, like, do you think like was it a tool that was invented by our former oppressors or colonizers?
I wouldn't put it past them because look at the amount of control that our former oppressors have over the media, for instance. I'm glad there's platforms such as this that exist because now we're able to actually voice this opinion without being filtered.
So that's why we are here, to break those barriers, and we're doing just that.
Very, very, very true. So again, I regroup and I've regrouped myself as it relates to the term. I don't think it's a term that exists. I think it is a tool that has been used essentially
but don't you think like it backfired in a way with even us as a race? We're just not aware that this whole term actually backfired.
I would think it did backfire, but then I would also look at the physical evidence of what has happened essentially as a result of the word black tax. People who use the word black tax usually aren't people who necessarily want to be giving out such help. It feels as if they're obligated to do so. It's people who feel some kind of external force to essentially, you understand? So whoever uses the term black tax is essentially insulting themselves racially, you know, and if they insult themselves racially, they're insulting all of black people by essentially using the term. You just get a clear distinction of good and bad person. You know, there's people who do good things and there's people who do bad things. Just like that, you know.
You know, like bro, you know, this conversation is starting to pick up, you know, it's picking up, you know, because like this is one topic for me, you know, like you mentioned something like you say it's a racial insult. I don't personally think that's the case, because we are still using terms that were given to us by our oppressors,
However,
because we have given them a new meaning, terms such as nigger, according to us, kemachi, being a nigger, bantola.
However, the way the term was used back then, I would then argue differently when it comes to that, because especially taking from a very famous song by one of my favorite artists. He's actually an international American artist, Joyner Lucas.
Oh yeah. I'm not racist.
Yes, definitely. I'm not racist. And I believe one of the lines in the track is that when we know that when you use the term nigger, it's a way to insult us, but when we use it, it's a term of endearment. It's a word that has existed. We have given new meaning to it. So that will also counter my argument of how black tax is an invented term. But then here's the thing: it's not a term of endearment. We can't use it differently. We can't necessarily use the term black tax differently to what it means exactly. It's a racial connotation to say black, and just to add the word tax to it, it essentially speaks to a black person who's paying tax for just being black.
Why is there not a term such as white tax? Because in my entire existence as a human being, I've never come across that term. Like social media, like someone using it saying white tax. They will rather say it's white privilege. So what's hard for us as a race to actually create, such terms, black privilege? What's hard for us to create such movements that are actually focusing on empowering us, That's why I'm like, black tax.
Very, very, very brilliant observation, because it brings me back to Malcolm X. And when Malcolm X was in prison, apparently he met one of Elijah's disciples, Elijah Muhammad's disciples, who taught him about the dictionary's description of certain words. Like if you go to the dictionary and you search the word black, for instance, it will tell you about a color that is dark.
Color like this.
Essentially, it will tell you about something that is evil, something that is less than couth, essentially, or a black hole. But then you go and look at the word white, and it talks about purity, something that is pure, something that is holy. It's something that is better than black, essentially. So whenever we use the term white privilege, we cannot necessarily see ourselves as privileged enough to actually help or privilege those who are within our vicinity, especially those who are black. So we cannot necessarily see it as a black privilege as a result of the way we learn language. Black is associated with darkness, associated with ugliness. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Breaking it down. Because that's why I was talking about privileges. There are instances where also we do enjoy some of these benefits, because there are times like broad-based economic empowerment being introduced into industries.
That can also be used in a way that benefits the oppressor.
That's why earlier on I was actually highlighting this point that we are not really free. We are under the impression that we are free. We are still way
steps behind. We still have a lot of catching up to do. So, and I believe we've actually taken steps back in a lot of ways. We've also taken steps forward in a lot of ways. However, I would like to see the consistency from us as a black community.
True. Because, like you said, after COVID hit, in a way, I was starting to see the signs of unison amongst us as black community. Unison, amongst us black community members. Especially where we started seeing those cases of lootings, black businesses being affected. We saw ourselves, even pledging support. Even this is still happening, whereby you find ordinary citizens sexually coming together to actually support maybe a cause, maybe someone is going through something. and then they start donating funds, some donate food. For me, that's the real concept or definition of black tax, you know.
I still again say, and we remove the term entirely. I think for my sake, I think I'll speak for myself actually. As of today, the term black tax does not exist. It is a weaponized manner of speaking. You understand? It's a weaponized manner of speaking. It's linguistic weaponry.
It's Ubuntu basically. That's how we're supposed to term it. You know, because at the end of the day, Ubuntu is all about what? Spreading love, showing love, empowering your neighbor, loving your neighbor as you love yourself, you know. So that's the spirit of Ubuntu. So my brother, I will actually like us now to move to you personally, as I guess you know.
As it relates to my
experiences.
experiences.
Like what has been like your own personal experiences regarding this term you just said you no longer use it, and that's black tax. Unfortunately, me, that's the topic for the episode. So
no, I get it. I completely get it. I'm not against that. My own experiences of what the so-called black tax is would be just how, for instance, I'll give you an example. A couple of years ago, I've been employed in a certain company, and I was earning a good salary for an individual, you know, and although I haven't had the best spending habits, you know,
black people problems.
I would want to assist every single person I would come into contact with. You know, if somebody needed a 10 rand, like for instance, there's this kid I would assist. Well, sorry to say kid, a child actually. That I would meet at the taxi rank. Who asked me to actually just give me a little bit of what I had. You know, and I'd do so. You know, I'd do so even though I felt like I didn't have enough. As long as I had enough, I could. As long as I had something on me, I could share it.
Yeah.
However, this was also to my own detriment because at times some things I would neglect just so that I could assist. You understand? So the spirit of Ubuntu would take over to such an extent that I wouldn't have Ubuntu for myself. So you understand? So it becomes a problem in that instance. That's just one experience, for instance. Other experiences include, like we say, we don't speak just about money, right?
Yeah.
So familial experiences or experiences with family. There's certain cousins of mine who, whenever I visit, you know, they expect me to expectation, as I say. Buy things like alcohol.
Let me check you know.
You know, that's checking is nasi, but let me get checking out.
We give you money to you must spend it.
Besides the whole feel to go to
So how thing you mean?
I understand. So if you keep playing and you expected to spend or help out where you can help out, and yes I would. You know, I'd stay a couple of days just to ensure that things stay in order. You know, and one time where I really felt like, no, you know what, this is in the true sense organic scene. I understand, was when I went there. I had a girlfriend that side.
Yeah.
So I went there and I went to go see my girlfriend. But now, because my family had learned of my presence within the neighborhood at the time, I then obviously had to go and check the family and, you know. So can I let Chalete get a little spend a little so I first start family. I just then the key family case and the family got special to spend the comedy Gafa one of the day when told what I was spending for one to so I'd find myself spending, you know, and spending to my own detriment. And one day where I was like, you know what, I'm done, was I'd visited them and I had essentially my month's salary with me. You know, and I spent half of it with both my family and my girlfriend, my then girlfriend that is. And then I'd forgotten my jacket and my phone when I came home. So the following weekend I decided to return. Fetch my stuff, and it was gone.
No one knows.
No one knows. And the strangest part of it is that I left all of these things in my cousin's room. So how the hell does then the whole phone, the whole jacket disappear?
Those are some of like ventures.
Exactly. So what I'm trying to get to, sorry to cut you off.
You're the one joking.
What I'm trying to get to is that in this instance I was actually being not just coerced, I was literally being financially abused, and at the same time I suffered theft at the hands of my own family. You understand? So
it's fucked up. Hey, and whenever I see it,
so it's one of the things that had stopped me from visiting my family. Because, it's not the only reason why we run away from family members. Family members pull a lot of
I think you also touch on like a follow-up question, because like I was about to ask like how you think like this whole thing actually affects today's generation, from mentally, how it affects us, there's financial expectations that are there, there's financial expectations that you are required to do this and this since you are working, so like how do those things actually affect us, especially like this young generation of ours, the millennials,
I think it affects us in a number of ways, it affects us in numerous ways. In that, psychologically, especially if we speak about attachment, you are attached to an invisible umbilical cord. Whereas it comes to your mom, you are attached to your parents essentially, to your siblings, to your family, and that umbilical cord is essentially the conjoining factor to the familial characteristic. So you being bound by that, you are bound to actually be affected psychologically in the sense that preserving an attachment would be essentially preserving oneself. So me helping my brother would be me helping me, because at the end of the day we're brothers and we of the same house, and when one wins we all win. You understand? It could also affect us in another way. That's just the positive way that I'm mentioning psychologically. Then we have another negative way psychologically, where it becomes a thing of you now feel as if you are being manipulated. You feel as if you are being validated only for the resources that you are able to provide. Aside from just being a human being in general.
Can I just take a quick break?
No
just
problem.
to check out something? Because you see they're asking about the jobs of CEO. Let me just...
Sorry about that, brother.
And sorry about that, guys. We are back. As you were saying, Mr. Ramolefe.
Yeah, as I was saying, the negative aspects would then be how you would then see you actually paying for validation. The validation, you should be validated just for the fact that you should receive validation for the fact that you, not because you have certain material input. Because just having that material input, then how do I put it? it makes you better able to help somebody, but now you shouldn't necessarily be feeling as if you're being taken advantage of for helping them.
That's why earlier on I was highlighting this point that me actually choosing to be like, I'm going to pay for my siblings' school fees. It should be something that I do out of love.
Your own personal.
Yeah, my own choice.
Exactly.
That's why I was like, that's why I don't say it as black text for me, you know, because that's something you do have a choice on. Because like when you work, by
but then there are those who won't feel as if they have a choice.
Yeah.
They feel as if it's an obligation. I have a friend, for instance, who she had a boyfriend, and she having this boyfriend, they obviously she had a relationship, a long-term relationship, and they broke it up. This very friend then went and essentially had another boyfriend and started a business, but now this boyfriend doesn't necessarily have the funding to start the business. She then goes to previous boyfriend and says he should fund the business. And what's strange was the fact that she did it in a way of entitlement. You understand? She didn't do it in a way of I'm gonna pay you back. You know, it's the whole pretty privilege. You understand? So how do we then look at pretty privilege